Welcome back to Warcraft Rewrite. Today I am joined, as always, by Anglai. Anglai, how are you feeling today?
I'm feeling good.
That's fantastic to hear. Briefly, before we start the episode, thank you guys for showing so much love on the April Fool's Day video. It was such a silly video that I didn't know was getting released. Funny enough, I thought we were going to do something completely different, and then I woke up and it was published, and I was like, oh, cool. But seriously, thank you guys so much.
I'm surprised so many people watched it.
I'm surprised it has so many likes.
I can't believe we also gained, 3 or 4 subscribers when that video came out.
So thank you guys. That's all I wanted to say real quick before we start. But, Anglai, do you want to tell them what today's episode is?
Today's episode that people have been crying for is, what if Tiffin Wrynn never died?
So, Tiffin Wrynn was the mother of Anduin Wrynn and married to Varian Wrynn. Now, she was a very beloved queen, and we talked about her briefly in the episode The Stonemason. We talked about her briefly, just kind of figuring out who she was and how she would affect things, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we didn't want to focus too much on her because we really wanted to do this episode today. Now, for some reason, in our friend group, I've become the Tiffin Wrynn know-it-all. I don't know how that happened exactly, but it did, and it's hilarious. Anglai, what's your knowledge about Tiffin?
Now, I had no idea who Tiffin was until I learned about the Stonemasons years ago, but when I met you have a whole character named after Tiffin, and make jokes about it, and there's the little rock toy that you can throw at people, and we joke about it. But it turns out that this not so notable character in the lore has caused so much throughout the storyline of World of Warcraft, and a lot of people don't know that. So what would happen if she was not killed?
Well, to understand that, first we kind of need to go back in time and kind of learn more about her. So her story began, she actually was part of the Illyrian, I'm going to say this wrong by the way, so excuse me.
We will
guys.
say everything wrong.
Everything wrong. She was actually part of the Illyrian noble family of Stormwind. It wasn't a big house. It had a small chunk of land in Westfall. So when Varian was old enough, his family, like when he was born and she was born, they were like, a boy? A girl? It makes sense. So they arranged the marriage between the two. Now, I don't know if you guys, maybe, I know Anglai hasn't because we've talked about it, have seen Swan Princess. I swear, this is relevant, I swear.
Is it though? Is it?
It is, because in the movie, the two characters, Derek and Odette, I forgot her name for a second. Odette, they are engaged at birth because, again, boy-girl, and to unite their kingdoms, and they hate each other as they grow up, and then when they enter puberty, all of a sudden they're hot to each other. So that kind of happened with Tiffin and Varian. They despised each other at first. They just didn't get along. She thought he was a brute. He thought she was a goody two-shoes. They didn't get along at first. But to kind of continue back into the episode, she was very, very beloved by the people. And her marriage to Varian was a great idea because the people adored her. You know, she was Diana of Azeroth. People just loved her.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know this, but she was very tied into the Stonemasons Guild. She heard that Varian and, well, not just Varian, but the noble houses were like, oh, we don't have to pay them. She actually was like, no, we're gonna pay them.
See, I didn't know that.
Right. She was very, very supportive in wanting to pay them for their work. So, of course, Onyxia heard that, and she said, well, I need to get rid of this queen because of that. And it would cause Stormwind to go into chaos, which is exactly what the Black Dragon wanted. Tiffin's death was very impactful to kind of kickstart the story of Tiffin Wrynn. And also Anduin, because Anduin growing up without a mother kind of allowed Jaina to get more into his life than she probably would have if Tiffin had lived. It's very interesting to think about, but I talked for a long time. What are your thoughts, Anglai?
Oh, it's alright for you to talk, because I don't know that much about the beginnings of Tiffin, just stuff that would come afterwards, which is when the rewrite would come into play, especially with Anduin. Anduin, when we first really get to know him, it was in Mists of Pandaria when he ran away to Pandaria. And I don't know if I'm jumping ahead right now, but I feel like if his mom was still in place, he wouldn't have ran away that fast.
Right. Which Tiffin, being such a kind and notable leader, she was definitely the person to quickly calm Varian's anger. Kind of snap him out of it and be like, if you're gonna have that attitude, you're sleeping on the couch. And Varian's like, I don't want to sleep on the couch. She's like, go sleep on the couch.
Alright, let's rewind the story a bit. Let's go to when Onyxia. Does Tiffin stop her?
No, I feel like Tiffin and Onyxia would definitely butt heads. Because Onyxia's plan to murder Tiffin had failed. Let's say in our rewrite, because Tiffin never died, Onyxia allied the nobles to not pay the Stonemasons. And Tiffin's holding Anduin, and everybody's upset and throwing things, but the rock misses Tiffin. And that causes Varian to get angry and kind of threaten, if you guys are going to start throwing things and hit my wife, then I'm going to
exile you.
I'm gonna exile you to Westfall. And Tiffin kind of, puts her hand on her husband's shoulder and says, let me handle this. And kind of calms the crowd, which would upset Onyxia because, she had a whole plan of she was supposed to die. But she doesn't. So, in this way, Tiffin calms the crowd and promises them that she's going to come up with a way to help everybody get paid. And she promises that she will work with the nobles, the houses, and work with a way to get paid. And Onyxia goes, well, they don't deserve to get paid, trying to upset the crowd enough to cause a riot. And it doesn't work because Tiffin's like, no, I'm going to talk to the houses and they're going to get paid.
I feel like Onyxia would have been stopped sooner than later then. Because after a while, Tiffin would be like, nope, I'm just going to get rid of you now. Husband, hey, if you love me, can you just kill this lady for me? Not kill her, but, get rid
Exile
of her.
her.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Tiffin would definitely use her powers of being the queen to get rid of her. Because in this universe, since she never passed, she would be... I have a feeling, and it's not stated in game, because again, Tiffin died very early on in the story of WoW.
So much so, not a lot of people know about her.
Exactly. So, it's interesting to hear people's stories. I first learned about her going to Stormwind's graveyard. and I saw the gravestone. I was like, what the hell?
And I spat on it.
No. No, because I think it was like the first interactable gravestone that I saw, because I could not find Invincible's grave burial site. And her gravestone, it actually reads, Tiffin Wrynn, Queen of Stormwind, fair and just, a wit quick as her smile, may the light inherit your warmth, for our world grows cold in your absence.
Well, that's so sweet.
I read that, I was like, dang.
Who
the frick is this lady?
Who is this lady? Who are you?
So I googled it, and I learned more about her, and for some reason it just became, I was like, yeah, nobody knows this character, so I named a character in World of Warcraft Tiffin Wrynn, and she's a priest, but she would definitely look at Oxenia and be like, okay, listen, this is my kingdom and my family, so get out. And she would have Varian throw Oxenia out, which, would that make it so Oxenia just leaves well enough alone? Of course not, guys. Come on. Right?
Would she take Varian with her to make Logosh?
I have a feeling that she would lead her. Her plans would be derailed, but Logosh would still happen, because she would, alright, if I kind of lead him away from Stormwind enough to enact her plans still. So instead of Oxenia, Bolvar, and Anduin there at the throne room, I have a feeling Tiffin would be in that throne room, and you could talk to her and be like, what happened to your husband? And she'd be like, he's missing. If you have any knowledge of where he's at, please let me know.
That would be very interesting. I remember playing the game and going to the throne room and seeing a child and being like, what is this? Why is there a kid here? Where's the king? I thought a medieval castle would have a king. This was before I knew the lore, and I was like, why is there a child here? But that does sound very interesting to have Tiffin the queen over Stormwind, and I wonder how she would have dealt with the Forsaken and neighboring kingdoms in the area, and how to deal with their aid if they came to her for aid, which during the time would be mainly Lordaeron, Dalaran, but I highly doubt Gilneas would ask for any help whatsoever.
No, and again, we kind of established that in the Stonemasons episode. Gen is a very stubborn old wolf.
Absolutely.
He doesn't care who's king, who's queen. He's like, listen, your problems are your problems. My problems are mine problems. So
he's like, I love my wall. You go now.
Gosh, Gen, marry the wall then.
He is. Joke's on you. I am married to the wall. Thanks, Gen.
That should have been our April Fool's Day joke. What if Gen married his precious wall? But anyway, Logosh would still happen in the fact that I feel like Oxenia would definitely lead him astray and get him out of Stormwind, and she would try everything to,
get him back.
Enact her plans. But Tiffin is not an idiot. She knows. She may not fully know what the Black Dragon's plan is, but she's a great leader.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a feeling that she would work with the Stonemasons to get them paid. She would try her best to rule with a strong but kind but firm voice in the midst of a lot of chaos, because let's be honest, classic WoW is very chaotic.
If she did get them to get paid, and she has land out in Westfall, with the poor farmers out there being abused by the crown, I feel like she could have used the Stonemasons to help rebuild society out in Westfall.
Yes, she would be a very strong advocate for Westfall. Like, we've ignored it for far too long. Those are my people too, just as much as Stormwind is, and Ellen Forest.
Reopen the mines.
Let's reopen the mines. Let's get these people what they deserve, and that is a calm and good home. So she would be she would just be a great queen who would understand people's plight. She would listen. She would always be willing to lend a listening ear. I have a feeling she would also be a great mom to Anduin, who, let's be honest, he goes through a lot throughout the story of World of Warcraft. And so he would be a very understanding, or she would be a very understanding person who would lend an ear. Now, you asked about the Forsaken, and I don't know if much would change with that, because with so much going on and her trying to figure out what to do in her husband's absence, I have a feeling that, because Sylvanas, when she first started, she sent the Forsaken, what's the word for when you don't go
ambassadors.
Thank you. She sent ambassadors out to Stormwind to talk for her and be like, hey, here's an olive branch. Let's talk. Well, and then they were killed because the guards on the wall saw a bunch of undead coming.
It's a scourge.
All right, well, it's scourge. So I have a feeling that not much would change there, because I doubt Tiffin would even know about it.
That's true. The guards would have stopped them before they got even close to Stormwind.
Right. I have a feeling they would just tell her, hey, we saw some scourge, took care of it, and she would be like, okay, fine. Cool, thanks, guys. And they'd be like, yeah, no problem. I doubt she would even know about it.
That's true.
So, but I have a feeling that a lot of the plight that we have in the first game with the first expansion, I have a feeling her and Thrall would really get along.
I wonder if the Horde and Alliance would have had a better connection because of now Queen Tiffin and Jaina on the side of let's band together and help each other out.
Right. The problem with, Jaina, we probably need to do an episode about Jaina. Like, what happens if Jaina was mentally stable?
Oh, absolutely. She was until the mana bombing. But back to what I was getting at is I wonder how, I don't know that much about it, but the orc internment camps, for Tiffin to see those and think, this is a good idea, or we should find a way to help them.
Well, like anything else, the camps were under the rule of Lordaeron at the time, and Arthas was kind of he would go and, because he hated orcs, right?
Oh, yeah.
He saw them as monsters. So I don't think Tiffin would have much to do with the camps, because
it's under Lordaeron rule.
It's under Lordaeron rule, and oh gosh, the guy who Thrall's original quote unquote master,
Blackhand.
No, is it Blackhand or is it
Blackmore?
Blackmore. I always mix up Blackhand and Blackmore, because
the orc is Blackhand.
Yeah, the orc. That guy was crazy, and he had a plan to use Thrall and the orcs to overthrow Lordaeron. So I doubt that if Tiffin came in and tried to tell him what to do, he'd be like, okay, listen here. I know what I'm doing. You're not my king. Get out of here.
Yeah. Then I wonder what would have happened with the Dwarven clans if she would have been able to find peace amongst them, even though the Dark Iron Dwarves were going insane by cultists, but the Wildhammer and I forget the other one's names. I wonder if they would have been able to come to a peace sooner than later.
I have a feeling that she could help offer a guiding hand and be the mediator between the clans. Because sometimes you just need an outside source to be like, hey, this is what I think. And then you're like, okay, it does sound crazy if I say it like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I have a feeling that she'd be willing to listen and to offer advice and kind of guide them through everything. And she would just be a great listening ear for times like this. Now, when Varian comes back, she would be thrilled, obviously. And I have a feeling that Anduin and Varian's relationship would, because when Tiffin died, Varian came back. Obviously, he wasn't his full self. He was split into two. And he would, then eventually he became whole again. I have a feeling that Anduin and Varian's relationship wouldn't have crumbled so fast and took him so long because she would be there.
Yeah.
And she would say, guys, you're both being stubborn. Come on. Get your heads out of your butts. Now, do you think that Tiffin being alive would help during Cataclysm? How do you think that would help during Cataclysm?
I was just thinking about that. I don't think any major thing would happen during the next expansions up until Cataclysm, or even Mist, because there was nothing she could really control except for in Cataclysm, the SI7 agents were supposed to intercept getting Thrall on his way while he was going to the Maelstrom to speak to the Earthen Ring. And if she would have known about the kidnapping of Thrall, she might have tried to stop it.
Right, because again, also really quick, you don't think that Tiffin could have stopped Deathwing
by herself? She could have easily done it as a priest. That'd be very interesting if she used a little bit of shadow priest magic like Anduin did during Miss Pandaria. If she went just a little cuckoo sometimes, that'd be kind of funny. But I see her as a pure soul, a pure priest that was very against using shadow magic.
Agreed. I just had to make the joke real quick.
Oh yeah, she
I thought it'd be funny.
She sees Deathwing flying by and puts up a giant ward around the city, and instead of sitting down on the stone walls, it just blocks him away, and he's like, fine, I'll just come back another time.
Gosh.
Just let me destroy your city. Gosh.
Emo teenager.
You don't understand me.
Oh, sorry. I had to. I had to ask, but yeah, Tiffin would definitely be like, "Why are we kidnapping Thrall exactly?" And they'd be like, "Well, because he's the Horde." And she'd be like, "But we're all citizens of Azeroth. Don't kidnap."
Yes,
Thrall.
she would be very along set with Jaina, and that would be a very good match too, because Jaina seemed always locked to Kalimdor because she wanted to be close to the Horde and Thrall for negotiations, and that means Tiffin would be over in Eastern Kingdoms and help with trying to make peace over there. It would be a great matchup, even though no matter what, it's the game, it's the world of Warcraft. There will always be Alliance and Horde fighting, and if there wasn't that, then it's literally not the game itself. But I feel like there would be a couple more moments in time where they would help out each other, even though they would still fight. It's kind of like, yeah. I wonder what would have happened in BFA when the Zandalari queen was imprisoned in the stockades, if she would want to just to hold on to them and negotiate with them. That would be kind of funny, instead of going into the stockades and breaking out for the princess and going into the main castle and being like, we're here to save you. And they're like, I don't know, I'm pretty comfortable right now.
Now, the Horde breaks in and they just see Tiffin talking with them and
drinking tea.
like, yeah, and she's like, oh, you guys are here. okay, I won't tell my husband you guys are... Oh, wait, this is BFA. I won't tell my son you guys are here. So, continue on. I'm gonna go to bed. Have fun. And I'm sure you guys in the comments are gonna be like, she would just let him go. Yeah, she's not a fighter. No. She's a ruler. She let the people take care of it.
Now, I know what you're wondering is, why would she let Princess Talanji go to the Horde side? That just seems weird and crazy. But if you think about it, Princess wasn't the only one there. She also had the seer with her. I forget his name. Zul? And he was very mystic and saw a lot of stuff in the future, and he'd be like, this is the best path for us, and then would have gone with the Horde. But it just leads to the ideas of there's so much fighting throughout the planet. What would she have changed?
I feel like she would definitely help strengthen the bond of Horde and Alliance relationships, because Varian was a very hot-headed, heavy-handed ruler, and Anduin is very light-handed and doesn't try to rock the boat. I have a feeling that Tiffin, yes, she's a great ruler and people love her, but she's also she rules with, an iron will. She can be tough when it needs to be, but kind.
And I think we would really see that during Cataclysm with Garrosh Hellscream taking over as War Chief of the Horde. I wonder, how she would have dealt with such a crazy man taking over the Horde and trying to find peace between the two at the same time.
It would be very challenging because Garrosh is a very, kind of like Gen, is a very stubborn and hot-headed individual. Mm-hmm. I don't see them getting along. I feel like he would dismiss her a lot because, number one, she's not Horde, and she's a human, but she would definitely try, but she would also have to put her foot down with him. I mean, if you're going to talk to me like that, you can just go.
Yeah, Jaina had that problem. Even in the very beginning, she was still trying to find peace between the two. It was until the mana bomb dropped, then she started to go crazy during Cataclysm/Miss.
Oh, the mana bomb. It caused a lot of issues. Obviously, Tiffin would see that and kind of decide that there would be no more negotiation with that Horde. Mm-hmm. Tiffin would also recognize that it's not the entirety of the Horde that is doing it. It's Garrosh's Hellscream's Horde.
Yeah. Hopefully she would be able to realize that.
I have a feeling she would, because they have such a strong... They would have a strong connection, her and Thrall, because they're both level-headed. I hate to say peacekeepers, but they're both great leaders, and I have a feeling that they would talk all the time. Kind of like Bane and Anduin's friendship. Mm-hmm. Bane Bloodhoof. Because they have an understanding and a very good friendship. At least they have in the past. I'm not sure where that is now. But War Within's just getting started. So I have a feeling we're going to see more of that relationship blossom into a better one. But I'm curious to see where it goes. And I have a feeling that Thrall and Tiffin would have the same kind of relationship.
I agree. And I think the next time we would really see her sprout up would be in Legion and dealing with the Shadow Priest Order Hall and her and Kalia getting to talk amongst peace between both Lordaeron and Stormwind.
Oh man, those two talked for the first time since probably, before Arthas destroyed everything. Mm-hmm. That would be interesting to hear those two talk, and Kalia kind of comfort Tiffin on loss of Varian, and those two forming a bond. I have a feeling they got along, but everything was just so hectic. Tiffin was a new mom, and so was Kalia. Mm-hmm. They were both new moms, so they probably didn't have much time to interact, but now they have all their time to interact. And Tiffin kind of teaching the priest player more of the like lighter side, and maybe Kalia could take over Shadow.
Yeah, and then you also have to remember this is also the expansion where Varian dies, so I feel like she would have really clung to Kalia for help with that.
Right. She would, kind of comforting Tiffin through that process, and also helping her son, Anduin, kind of... Because Anduin had no time to mourn Varian during this time, because there was a war going on, and the Alliance blamed the Horde, because if you haven't played Legion, Sylvanas Windrunner abandoned the Alliance on the field for good reason, but of course she couldn't explain herself.
Yeah, and they kept it hidden, which I really liked.
They kept it hidden, so it looked like that the Horde was abandoning the Alliance on the field, but the Horde had a greater vantage point than the Alliance did. So it looked like they were abandoned, but they weren't. They were just being overrun.
Mm-hmm.
And so Sylvanas made a decision after talking to Vol'jin, who was gravely injured, to retreat. And unfortunately, she didn't have enough time to warn the Alliance that they're being overrun, so they just kind of left. So Tiffin would struggle with that because, again, Thrall is not the leader, it's Sylvanas, and I doubt those two interact much, if at all.
That'd be a crazy interaction between... Well, it's kind of like also... So the world tree burns down. I'm now skipping ahead. So her and Kalia talked a lot during Legion, and then BFA happens. Sylvanas is really taking a hold of the power, and during the Battle of Lordaeron, after the tree burning down, I feel like Tiffin would definitely be there to help assist on the siege of Lordaeron. And then once we break through the walls, you get to meet Sylvanas, and she talks to Anduin. And it'd be very interesting to see the role reversal where it's not just Anduin alone. His mom is also there. And then it's just... I'll say it. It's a cat fight. But not really. I feel like Tiffin would be very... We're here to help you. You need to learn, like... We must make right with the world, not make it worse. And she's like, but I want it to go more worse. I want crazy. I love the insanity.
Right, because unbeknownst to us, the players, or anybody, Sylvanas unfortunately was working with the jailer.
Disgusting.
Listen, guys, we hate the jailer as much as you do, but unfortunately we still have to work within canon. So, I have a feeling... So Tiffin would definitely try to help negotiate that, but Sylvanas isn't willing to listen because, again, Sylvanas is working with the jailer.
Mm-hmm.
And it would just be a major cluster of two leaders who both think they're in the right, kind of fighting. And then Tiffin kind of letting Anduin take over the role because she's like, he's old enough, he's really grown into his role. And kind of stepped down from being queen and letting her son take over as king.
Mm-hmm.
Still be the supportive mom. But this is an interesting question. Because you mentioned Tiffin is a pure light, correct?
Yeah.
So when it has to happen, again, until we rewrite it, that Anduin, Jaina, Thrall, and Bane Bloodhoof are kidnapped by Sylvanas and the jailer because they need a person so pure to break into Bastion.
Oh.
Would they take Tiffin?
Absolutely. During that talk at Lordaeron, she would definitely use her as a puzzle piece to try and get into Bastion to get the sigil.
Right, and Tiffin, of course, would be like, what the hell are you talking about?
I won't do anything for you. And
then I have a feeling Sylvanas would kind of like the jailer did to Anduin, kind of brainwash her. And then we see Tiffin Wrynn be extra and cool.
And more, BA. I can't curse.
BA. You can't curse. It's killing Angeli, guys.
That would be very interesting to see her take a more aggressive approach towards something.
Right, because all we know of her is she's a good, kind person. And Anduin, I'm going to kind of talk about Anduin for a minute. I know this is about Tiffin. The problem with Anduin is that the writers at World of Warcraft right now, at Blizzard I should say, don't really know what to do with Anduin's personality. He's all over the map right now.
Mm-hmm.
So when he went crazy and stabbed the Archon, it didn't feel as a moment, because again, they just didn't know what they wanted to do with Anduin quite yet. But in this scenario, it would be shocking to see Tiffin go crazy.
Because she's so pure.
Because she's so pure, and she's never had a moment of insanity. Because she's always kept cool and calm and collected. So to see that would be shocking, to say the least.
That would be crazy to see, like, a rune-forged version of her.
Have to break her out of the spell. And she'd go right back into, oh my, I lost my cool there for a little bit.
And then when we're done killing her, not really, but after the fight, Anduin runs up to her and says, like, Mom, I missed you. And she's like, I'm sorry for what I've done. And he's like, it wasn't you. It wasn't you.
And they hug, and she's like, she kind of tells us what Anduin does, like, the game, and she's like, go get him. And we go and defeat the jailer, and he does this cryptic, stupid, you don't know what you've done.
I wonder...
You guys tell I don't like the jailer, by the way.
No one likes the jailer. I wonder if she would have not really gone into hiding after that, but if she would have really shut down and been pushed in the back just because she did something against her own will, kind of like Anduin. But Anduin really takes full reign and control of the kingdom after that.
Right, so maybe she's kind of, again, like, she takes the training wheels off for Anduin and says, okay, I need to step back and clear my head. You are now truly in charge.
You are the king. You are the queen.
You are the queen.
You are the king. I cannot rule these people after what I've done. I must go think, and then teleports out of there or something.
She's not a mage.
I know she's not a mage, but, you know, maybe she's had her Hearthstone somewhere.
But she deserves a break after everything she's been through, and just a nice, simple break where she could clear her head and teach from afar with Anduin. Maybe her and Jaina have a girls' trip. You know, they deserve it.
Mm-hmm. And I feel like during Dragonflight, we wouldn't really see her. And
no.
Then she would come back because she would definitely be hearing the voice of Azeroth.
Right. We were driving somewhere one day, and I told Angeli, I was like, this song reminds me of Anduin hearing the voice of Azeroth, and then I played Into the Unknown from Frozen 2. If you guys ever want a good laugh, turn that on and just play the trailer for BFA with Anduin and Thrall. It's hilarious.
It syncs up too perfectly.
It's too good, guys. So if you ever want to chuckle, I know it's Frozen 2, but it's funny. But yeah, I have a feeling that's what would happen if Tiffin never had died. So
she would be a little bit of a background character, giving out some quests, but a lot of times her quests would be trying to do what Jaina's basically been doing, trying to connect both the factions together.
Except Jaina Jaina would still go crazy, but Tiffin never would have until Shadowlands, when they kidnap her instead of Anduin.
I think that'll about do it.
I think that's a great episode. Thank you guys again for listening in and giving so much support. But if you want more Warcraft Rewrite, please leave your comments below, giving us ideas for what you guys want to hear about. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe. And if you want more Warcraft Rewritten, please consider joining our Patreon, where you could get exclusive bloopers and content and Diosa's feed pics.
Y'all have a good one.
Thank you so much, guys. Talk to you soon.
Bye.